Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming out tonight. It's the July 26th meeting of the East Fishkill Town Board. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. One announcement tonight, I'd like to thank the board members and our professionals and our clerk for coming out tonight. It's a bit of a stormy evening, and I do thank you for being here. The first one announcement tonight is Hopewell Hose is 100 years old, and when they will be celebrating their anniversary by having a fire department parade like the one they used to have years ago. It'll be held on August 10th. Lineup is at 6 p.m. and the parade starts at 7. It should last about 2 hours, and it's going to be ranging from Route 82 from Palin Road to Church Street, and then the parade ends up in the Fireman's Field. So I just want to let everybody know, and that is on August 10th. With that, Clerk Hooray, would you please call the roll?
Councilperson Walker is absent. Councilperson Danke.
Present.
Councilperson Cassidy.
Present.
Councilperson D'Alessandro.
Present.
Supervisor Hickman.
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the June 28th meeting. Clerk Hooray, have you received any comments, modifications, or alterations?
No, I did not.
If everybody's okay, then do I have a motion to approve the minutes for the June 28, 2012 meeting of the East Fishkill Town Board?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Clerk Hooray, do we have anything for receipt and file tonight?
No, we do not.
Don't mind the steady drumbeat of the water dripping into the bucket in the middle of the room. You know, when you have
So when you vote to put a new roof at the town hall?
I know. When you have a town hall that's about 45 years old, you have to accept little things like that. But it is paid for, so I'll just say it is paid for. All right. The first item on the agenda is public hearing. Do I have a motion to continue the public hearing on the gas station reuse permits?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Public hearing is now open. Tom, will you discuss this public hearing, this law on the reuse, redevelopment of gasoline stations? Could you just give us a little overview?
Surely. Actually, this has been on the past two agendas. We were waiting for the receipt of comments from Dutchess County Department of Planning. They did send them to us. They indicated they feel this is a matter of local concern. But basically, this amendment would allow the planning board in addressing gasoline stations that are doing remedial work to clean up underground tank issues, et cetera, some flexibility in dimensional requirements so that it will be an incentive to those stations to quickly rehab, clean up, and it requires, obviously, that the DEC be involved in the process.
Okay. And I think one of the other issues was a time frame issue, whereas a non-conforming use, you discontinue a non-conforming use for a year, you would lose it. But in this case, it was a non-conforming gasoline station.
Correct. It allows additional time if they're in the process with DEC
Yeah.
to get the permits, et cetera, necessary to do the cleanup.
Okay. Very good. And the report, which we'd been waiting on, the comments from the county, I believe that they're in concurrence that.
They are, and it's up to, they have no requirement for a super vote or anything. They rely on whatever your decision
Okay.
is.
Very good. Anybody in the audience or anybody, well, first, anybody on board, any questions for the attorney on the redevelopment law? As Tom said, this has been like the third month, I think, that we've been looking at it, so. Councilman Danke, you good? Anybody in the audience? I know there's only a couple people in the audience, but if anybody would like to speak. All right, that being the case, let's see, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Do I have a motion to adopt a negative declaration and the local law amending the zoning ordinance of the town by adding special permit provision? How come the attorneys always write these things so long, Tom? In regard to pre-existing non-conforming gas station redevelopment sites.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you much. We have adopted the local law regulating, allowing redevelopment of gasoline station sites in the town of East Fishkill. All right. The first resolution on the agenda tonight is to appoint a member to the Recreation Advisory Board to fill an unexpired term. Councilman Danke, will you read the resolution?
Whereas the town board previously created the Recreation Advisory Board, whereas the board is comprised of 7 members who serve staggered terms, and whereas Janet McHugh and John Shishkowski have recently tendered their resignations from said board, and whereas it is the desire of the town board to appoint new members to said board, now therefore be it resolved that Joseph Vignola, residing at 7 Seymour Lane, Hopewell Junction, be and hereby is appointed to fill the unexpired term of Janet McHugh, which shall expire on 4/28/2017, and be further resolved that Michael Kieser, residing at 11 Bannister Drive, Hopewell Junction, be and hereby is appointed to fill the unexpired term of John Shishkowski, whose term shall expire 4/28/2015.
I'm sorry, Bill, I think that Michael's going to be filling an expired term of Janet McHugh.
Bill got his packet before the revision came out.
Oh, was there a revision to that?
Yeah, John Shishkowski had the term till 4/28/2017, and Janet McHugh has the term from 4/28 to
Okay.
2050.
So Michael Kieser is going to be filling which term?
Janet's,
Janet's, which expires April 28, 2015.
Very good.
It's just reversed.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
I would just like to also comment that Janet McHugh and John Shishkowski were both extremely dedicated members of our Rec Advisory Board and worked extremely hard for the people of the town of East Fishkill.
They really did. They were very, very good volunteers for our board, and they both moved on to do other, John, actually, I think his issue was just work got to be a lot longer than he could do that and serve the board. And he's so conscientious, he said to me, he said, I just can't put the time into this as I like to. And he left regrettably, and Jan is doing other projects like our Julie's Jungle, and she's done a terrific job. So do I have a motion to appoint, and Michael Kieser? Michael Kieser. Do I have a motion to appoint Joseph Vignola and Michael Kieser to those terms on the Recreation Advisory Board?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And Michael, you're with us tonight. Thank you for braving the storm and coming out. And, we were all very impressed when we did our interviews with you gentlemen last week. And we really look forward to working with you and working with you on our recreation facilities. It's a terrific thing. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
He has no electric at his house either, Tom, that's why he came.
Oh, that's right.
I suppose if the room starts filling up, it's because nobody in town has electricity but us. Okay. Resolution number 2 is to appoint a member to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Councilman D'Alessandro, will you read the resolution?
Sure. Whereas the town of East Fishkill has duly constituted zoning board of appeals, a vacancy exists on said board, and interviews were conducted, and the town board has selected a successor to fill the said vacancy. Now therefore be it resolved that Barbara Barosa, residing in Hopewell Junction, be and hereby is appointed as a member of the zoning board of appeals for the term of office expiring 12/31/2016.
Do I have a motion to appoint Barbara Barosa to the Zoning Board of Appeals?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Number 3 is to authorize the acceptance of part of Four Corners Boulevard and Bayberry Street as a town road, whereas Highway Superintendent and Town Engineer recommended the town board that we can accept part of Four Corners Boulevard within the Four Corners development to facilitate school buses turning into the development so the bus can safely pick up children who have gathered to board the bus. This partial acceptance is also necessary to accept a loop road so that the bus will be able to turn around and re-exit on Phillips Road. Therefore, be it resolved, the town board does hereby accept that part of Four Corners Road set forth in the next schedule as a public highway, subject to the finalization of all necessary certifications to complete said process by town engineer, town attorney, and highway superintendent for conclusion of that process. Be it further resolved that the town board further accepts Bayberry Street as a town road upon the same terms as conditions as set forth above. And I do have a memo from our town engineer that they performed final inspection, note of the parts are to be dedicated, find them accessible, and a maintenance bond shall be provided by Toll Brothers in an amount and for sufficient time frame to be commensurate with this action. Any questions? Do I have a motion to authorize acceptance of a part of Four Corners Boulevard and Bayberry Street as a town road?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Carol, when we accept the road, then you send this up to, would this be sent, this would be sent up to the school system?
Yeah.
But typically, when we accept the road, you also have to notify the post office. That wouldn't be the same in this one, would it? I don't know, because this is,
I don't know.
unless if there's a,
Anytime we notify 911,
911.
Oh,
it's
postal
everybody.
office
It's
notifies
it's
every-
everybody.
Yeah,
Okay.
And they can all decide how they're going to handle it.
yeah.
okay, who's got the phone? Okay.
The cameraman.
That's what happened, the cameraman's got a phone. All right, so very good. So we'll accept the Four Corners Boulevard and Bayberry Street as a town road. All
And-
right.
And Scott has on here and Birchwood Way. I think they're all small little roads. Scott added that one onto his memo.
Oh, that must be the turnaround possibly to make sure it
Yeah.
comes
To
back
make a
out.
loop,
so
because the bus is going to turn in, pick up the kids,
Have to come
loop around
now.
and come back out.
Okay, very good.
This is
So
something we've been trying to get done for
It's been a
2
while.
years.
I know, I think at least a year. So, all right, very good. And Carol, you touch base with Scott on that to make sure that that's the correct,
Yeah.
the roads? Thank you. All right, number 4 is to appoint an employee in the Highway Department to fill a vacancy per the recommendation of the Highway Superintendent. Peter, would you read that resolution?
Sure. Whereas under town law, the highway superintendent,
Oh, sorry.
is there a change?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
you can read mine,
You
actually.
just got a raise?
That's the new one.
Whereas under town law, the highway superintendent has the right to appoint employees within the highway department, subject to the confirmation of the town board. Whereas the town highway superintendent has reported to the board, and the board has confirmed that he has several employment vacancies within said department. And whereas it is the desire of the highway superintendent to recommend the town board an employee to fill a vacancy in said department, and whereas the town board concurs that there is a need for an additional employee at this time in the highway department to fill some of the vacancies currently existing. Now therefore be it resolved that William McClellan of West Hook Road, Hopewell Junction, New York, be and hereby is appointed as foreman of the highway department upon the recommendation of the superintendent of highways. And be it further resolved that said general foreman shall be paid in accordance with the provisions of the town budget scheduled to the sum of $57,158.40 per year.
Take that.
Be it further resolved that the said position is non-union and subject to all of the work policies, rules, and regulations of the town of East Fishkill.
Great, thank you, Peter. Do I have a motion to appoint this employee to the Highway Department?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. All right, number 5 is to authorize a 15-year payment in lieu of taxes agreement with IBM at the Hudson Valley Research Park. We have had this since 1998. We've had, in effect, a pilot agreement with IBM. And as for this property, the next couple years, it'll be coming to a close. We've done a lot of research. We've sat down with our with our property assessor, our attorney, a consultant that we use in these type of matters. And we've been talking about this for probably 6 to 8 months, try to get a handle on what IBM should be paying to the town of East Fishkill. In the past, they had paid their yearly payment for 2012, 2013 is $8,907,080. That's what's been paid, and the allocation has been broken down to the school getting approximately 75%. The town gets 12.5%. The county gets a little over 10, almost 11%. And the fire company gets about 2%. So that was the breakdown. And as we were coming to the end of the term of the pilot agreement, we thought it'd be good to sit down and talk about it. We came up with what I feel is a very good proposal. And the property assessment consultant agrees with it. We looked at some of the numbers. We went back and forth on the term. We really did want a long-term agreement, which is one of the things I think is very good about this. This is a 15-year pilot. There's talk of maybe just entering into a 5-year pilot. But a 15-year pilot gives us a lot of stability in the town as far as our tax base. The first payment in the year 2012 then will be $8,900,000, but it will step down to $8,650,000 in 13, and then we'll go down to $8,350,000 in years 14 throughout the term of the contract. The reason we did that was we had to agree on what they should be paying, but because they're going to do it for 15 years, it seemed like a very reasonable deal. Obviously, there's a lot of people involved, a lot of organizations. Tom, I believe it was sent over to the school district for their review, and I know.
Yes, we did.
And I've spoken to the county, told them what their payments were going to be and such, and I know the fire commissioners have been notified. So I think it's a good deal and something we need to enter into just for long-term stability of the town. So with that, anybody have any questions or any thoughts?
Just
Anything
a
you'd like to
couple
add,
of, first of all, I should point out that after 10 years, there is a inflationary increase if CPI goes up.
Yeah, in case of inflation, there's a 2% increase.
And also, we utilized McGrath and Company, which was the same appraisal company that the town of Poughkeepsie and the Spackenkill School District used in their certiorari issues that developed up with the IBM plant in Poughkeepsie.
Yeah, yeah.
So the per square foot rate that we're being paid here is
Exactly.
slightly greater than the Poughkeepsie plant pays.
Yep.
And the reason for that was a recognition that this plant has newer facilities, et cetera.
Yeah. And that's been part of the problem with this, and because you have so many, the old building here, and then a lot of the plant is new. So it's really hard to quantify the relative value of the whole thing. Don McGrath, as you said, I mean, I don't know where we'd be without him. He's the only person that I know could actually realistically evaluate a property like that.
And just one other little thing I point out is, normally, people would say, oh, why a pilot, is it a reduction? Actually, the number that's being used here is based on actual real property taxes. As I said, it's a little bit more than what the Poughkeepsie plant pays. And if this property was not owned by the Industrial Development Agency and was on the regular part of our tax rolls, the value of it used for assessment would be market value, and the same process would have occurred. What this provides is it takes us away from the risk of having to face tax certioraries year after year, influences of other industrial properties that may sell for less, and it gives us a stable basis to know what our budget's going to be.
And I agree with you 100%. I'm glad you brought that up. And I know that, I believe Poughkeepsie's experience with dealing with them has been just really in court, challenging their assessments
Right, it's been a
year after
seesaw,
year.
back and forth, refunds,
Yeah.
challenges.
And I believe they finally entered into a pilot just 2 years ago.
They did.
So I think that a pilot is a terrific vehicle. You know, I looked up, I believe that the Poughkeepsie pilot, they get a value of $1.70 per square foot, and in our East Fishkill, we're getting something like $1.81 per square
Correct.
foot. So, I mean, I think it's a good thing. I think that it gives us the long-term stability, and I think it's something that we need for the town. So, and also, it'd be good if IBM would invest a little bit here. That would be a good thing, so.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't want to see another West Complex. We have one West Complex, and we don't need another one, so we need to work together and get this thing done. So,
And if they change anything, they pay more anyway.
yeah.
So after 10 years,
After 10 years, the amount adjusts by CPI.
how about if it's
Upward.
greater than 2%?
No, you're right. If it's greater than 2%, the average, then there'd be an increase
Okay.
on it. And also, a good point that was made, even if this was on our assessment roll, if a building is demolished, they're entitled to a reduction. Obviously, this protects us that they would have to demolish a building in excess of 50,000 square feet before there would be any adjustment. But on the same side, if they increase, there's an increase just as if it was on the assessment roll. So none of those attributes are being given up, none of those rights are changing.
So if the CPI goes, goes down or stays the same, the payment stays the same?
Right, the payment
okay.
stays the same.
Okay. Any questions? Anybody in the audience like to speak on the pilot?
John Paul Kern from the town of Beekman.
Yes.
You mentioned the breakdown existing with the school district and so
Right.
forth, but
Yeah.
as you drop down a couple of $100,000 in the future, how does that ratio?
We're still going to
continue?
keep the same
Same
distribution.
pro rata as you go out?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Great, thank you.
Also, congratulations, a good deal.
Oh, thank you very much. All right, if there's no other discussion, do I have a motion to authorize the 15-year payment in lieu of taxes agreement with IBM Hudson Valley Research Park?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Number 6 is to authorize an agreement to allow acceptance of credit cards for the payment of town fees, taxes, etc. You know, we had discussed this, and I can tell you the truth, the gentleman gave a very good presentation at the last town board workshop. The only problem, Mark, I think you did call them and ask for some further information, correct?
Yeah, we asked for a copy of the contract that we would be signing,
Yeah.
and it appears to be insufficient to
Yeah.
be able to give an opinion whether.
Yeah, so that, and Peter, I know you had a couple questions also. So what I would like to do is to table this.
I'd just like to know what's in the contract, yeah.
Yeah. Can we take a look at the contract? So I don't know if we can contact this gentleman and say, we're going to table this motion until...
I indicated that if we didn't receive full information
Absolutely.
with sufficient notice prior to this meeting, that we would be tabling it.
Good.
So,
So then, do I have a motion to table this until we get the information we requested? Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. And would you mind notifying him, Mark, that this motion's been tabled until we receive sufficient information?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. Number 7 is to authorize the design and installation of a test well on the Cannon property. Yep, bought the Cannon property. We need to find water to serve the Ryan Drive, the Hopewell Precision Superfund site. Town board previously approved, purchase of 452 acres, What we're doing now is, I believe, Tom, we already authorized the last meeting, the phase 1 test, correct? And the LBG,
Right, LBG is the consulting engineers.
Leggett, Brashears, and Graham Incorporated went out, and they did a report for us already,
Right.
which is really more of a geological, visual study of the grounds and all that. I think they've come up with 6 areas where they think there's potential for water. They want to come in now with the next phase, and our town engineer is not with us tonight, and I really asked him to describe the next phase, but unfortunately, the
he
town
did-
attorney told me he didn't have to show because there's a storm.
He revealed some of that information to me. Basically, what this phase would be is they would actually go out and do a very 2-inch test well. And based on that, they can do all of the engineering studies and projections necessary to determine if that's the place where they should drill a regular well. So this phase is estimated to cost not to exceed $50,000.
Right.
And the board does have the full
We do have the
report.
report.
so-
Yep. No, I appreciate that. And as we know, we really do need to find water for these people that need a source of water for the Superfund site. And I have all the faith in Scott, although he didn't come here tonight. That, and just to let you know, the town attorney was reading all that off the engineer's memo. He didn't know that himself, so. But anyway, do I have a motion to authorize the design and installation of the test well on the Cannon property for a sum not to exceed $50,000?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to see what these well yields come out to be. All right, number 8 is to schedule a public hearing for August 23rd, 2012, to consider amending the town escrow deposit local law. Tom, would you give us a little update on, a little overview on that first?
If you recall, one of your prior workshops, we had a discussion about modernizing our escrow deposit law. This pertains to when someone files an application for a subdivision or site plan approval or the issuance of any other permit, the applicant deposits money with the town, and the town consulting professionals draw on that money to cover the cost, so it doesn't, a specific project doesn't impact the taxpayer. Recently, the trend now is to broaden the law, and since the town now has like an engineer on staff, et cetera, by amending the law, if the town engineer spends time reviewing an application during those phases, this law would allow the town to reimburse the general fund from the escrow law. It's a win-win situation because the general town fund is reimbursed by the applicant, and the applicant benefits because the staff engineer even though he's as talented as consultants, is less costly to us than a consulting engineer. So this law will set up that mechanism and give the town board that flexibility.
Very good, thank you, Tom.
If, I just got one. If
Sure.
Now, say I'm hiring and I'm putting money in this escrow. If I didn't want the town engineer to look at it and I wanted an outside agency, is that an option? Just as to throw a wrench in the,
Well, the applicant
Works.
has their own engineer, obviously, who's going to submit everything, and then the town engineer review it. There's nothing that would prevent you as an applicant from hiring a third engineer, I guess, if
Yeah.
you wanted to, yeah. We wouldn't do that.
just throw a wrench?
Well, the engineer he's home safe, so. he can-
He found water. He's afraid of the water. He didn't want to go out
I
in the
think
water.
that the lightning kicked out our air conditioner. It's getting a little warm in here. I did just want to point out, I believe in the past, if there's been a concern about an applicant with the engineer the town is using, they've come to the town board, haven't they? And requested another engineer.
Yes,
brought
that's
on.
when there was a conflict or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
That wouldn't change.
Yeah, okay, good. Any other questions? Councilman D'Alessandro, would you read the resolution?
Sure. Whereas the town has a law governing the deposit of escrows by applicants for various permits in the review and approval process with the town, and it has been determined that said law needs to be updated so to be in formal compliance with certain court decisions that have been made over the years in other municipalities. And it has been determined that it would be appropriate to further amend said law to modernize it to allow for the reimbursement of town staff's time used to review applications prior to the issuance of permits, etc. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board will conduct a public hearing at its regular meeting on Thursday, August 23rd, 2012 at 7:30 p.m. to consider amendments to the town's escrow law. And be it further resolved that the town clerk be and hereby is authorized and directed to have appropriate public notice of said public hearing.
Thank you, Councilman. Do I have a motion to schedule the public hearing to consider the town's escrow deposit law?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Number 9 is to approve bid for the Wildflower Extension, a long-needed extension from the Hopewell Hamlet Sewer to the Wildflower project. We have put out bids. Bids were received last week, and the low bid for the general contract was Merritt Construction in the amount of $977,126, and electrical contract to Hudson Valley Electrical in the amount of $124,100,000. And we have a memo from the town engineer and summing all that up. Also, I would like to just state that I'm thrilled today, after a long wait, we finally got approval from the State Comptroller's Office to authorize this project and the fund. I guess, Tom, we're authorizing the bonding through the state, with the State Comptroller's approval, right?
Right, with the state controls approval, we'll be finalizing the establishment of that extension.
So we'll be doing that tonight also.
We could
seems
do that
like
all in this resolution if
Okay.
you wish, yeah.
Very good. All right. Do I have a motion to authorize the bid for Hopewell Hamlet Sewer Extension to general contract to Merritt Construction and the electrical contract to Hudson Valley Electrical? And Tom, then what would we include about authorizing the bonding?
We'll accept the controller's approval and finalize the establishment of the extension.
Excellent. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Very happy about this because we really need to connect Wildflower to the Hopewell Hamlet Sewer. All right. On number 10, I do want to say we put out an RFP for services. Actually, I put out an RFP, went out of my office for electrical service and heating and cooling contracting services. Unfortunately, the RFP was a bit unclear as to where the proposals needed to be sent to, and due to some confusion, they were sent to different departments besides my own. That being said, I'm going to redo the RFPs, and we're going to send out a little letter explaining why. I think everybody's got in their packet that we did send out quite a number of RFPs to electric companies and heating HVAC companies. So my secretary's working on them, and we'll get them back out. So we're not going to award these services tonight. All right, I do have a few off-the-floor resolutions. Number 11, the first one off the floor would be to appoint Gina Grippo as secretary to the supervisor. Gina's been filling in, and she's done a terrific job. So do I have a motion to appoint Gina Grippo as secretary to the supervisor?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Number 2 is to appoint a worker, a seasonal recreation full-time worker in the rec department, whereas town board must time to time authorize seasonal employees to work in the town during summer season in various recreation programs and departments. Determined this employment is limited and seasonal. We have interviewed Michael Navor, and do I have a motion to hire him as a full-time seasonal recreation maintenance worker at the hourly rate of $10 per hour?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. A little short-staffed in recreation, so that will really help quite a bit. After the last Recreation Board meeting, I didn't realize that they had asked that we authorize the irrigation project from the rec development funds for the sum of $4,400. Actually, this is just an extension in the McGrath field, the premier field as they call it, which already has irrigation, and they're just going to be extending it to the other half of the field. I think everybody's got a memo from the rec board, copies of the proposals, and again, the lowest one being $4,400 submitted by Aquascape Irrigation of Dutchess Incorporated. Do I have a motion to authorize the irrigation project for the...
Would that also come out of the rec development fund? You have that in
will
the
be
motion?
coming out of the rec development fund. I was just going to say that.
Okay.
The controller's wondering
Yes.
where the money's coming from. It's coming out of the rec
John,
development
I don't
fund.
have anything on that, so
Okay.
I need copies of it.
This is something, and I just received this yesterday myself. I'll get you this copy when we're done, Carol.
Okay.
All right, and that was, again, I apologize for that one, just came up yesterday. Speaking of late resolutions, did your judge see you today, Carol?
Did we- you're gonna vote on
Oh,
that?
I'm sorry, we didn't vote. He got me all
So
tied up there with
moved.
direct
So
development.
moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much. You guys keep me in line here, I tell you. If Ethel was here, she'd have been going like this to me. Anyway, Carol, did the judge come to see you today?
Yes,
Okay. Did your judge tell you she needed a resolution for tonight?
yes.
Did the judge tell you I yelled at her?
No,
No, because I couldn't yell at the judge. You couldn't yell at the judge. But Judge McEline, he does have to go to school. You know, I found out today that good judges aren't grown, they're educated, and by law, she has to have so many hours of credit. So Judge McEline has requested that we authorize her attending a training session, and I believe the total for it is to be $592 with respect to her attendance at judicial training and authorized approved by the town board in accordance with provisions of general municipal law. And the resolution goes on to say, be it further resolved that the supervisor and controller be and hereby authorized to make payment. I think Judge McEline has given everybody a copy of the application, the registration form and such, so I do believe everything is in order. Do I have a motion to authorize the payment for the town justice to go to school?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed. If I didn't get a second, I wouldn't want to have been the one to tell the judge that I couldn't get a second here.
That's why I made the motion.
It's smart man. All right, thank you very much. That's all the resolutions for tonight. We do have a budget transfer. Our controller will introduce the budget transfer.
Yeah, in the
You
highway,
want to pull the microphone to you a little closer? The engineer's not here.
in the highway department, the only funding for paving in the operating budget this year is the CHIPS money. So in order to progress routine paving and make drainage projects, I propose that we transfer $400,000 from the general fund and $200,000 from the snow removal line within highway to provide $600,000 worth of additional funding for paving and drainage.
Okay. And Mark, we had discussed this when you gave us the financial report, I believe it was last month, we talked about it. General fund actually has a surplus of $4.4 million, something like that.
Fund balance, correct.
Yeah, of undesignated funds. And I think the highway department really had nothing as far as a fund balance.
Correct. Highway essentially has no fund balance. The 4.4 million is unreserved, but 925,000 is designated.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Of the 4.4
Okay.
million, 925,000 is designated.
Right,
just to
as
be
we do
clear.
on an annual basis, we designate some for the end of the year,
For
which
the current year's
often
budget.
often we don't use it.
Correct. We're not expecting to use it all, but
Yeah, but it's there as a cushion.
it's there
just
as a
in
cushion.
case. Okay.
Any of this money that isn't spent this year would just go towards building up the highway fund balance. at the end of the year.
And that is really it. I mean, as we discussed the other day when we go over with that, it's our highway superintendent, that, you know, in the past, with the economy the way it was, we didn't raise taxes any more than what the townwide valuation went up. So really, we were just running on an even keel. Then we did a bond a couple years ago, and that enabled us to do some blacktopping. But what happens is then we go to raise taxes a bit, we get a tax cap. So we will have to build back up to a place where we can fund our highway operations out of our, you know,
Right, we
normal
took it out of the
operations.
operating budget, put
Right.
it into a capital
And that's
project,
going
and then
to
we're
take 2 or
stuck
3
with.
years to get to that point.
Right.
So in the meantime, though, we're fortunate enough to have enough money, you know, set aside that we could use for the paving.
It's a one-off thing that I felt was doable based on last year's financial results.
Yeah. And the other thing was, too, that what really had hurt us was that October storm 2 years ago, which cost us about, I believe it was 880 some odd
Almost
thousand.
900,000 when it was all.
Yeah, to clean
cleaned
up. And because of such a localized storm, Dutchess County didn't declare a state of emergency. So there was no help for us, and now we ended up funding that whole thing ourselves. One of the things, though, we did do is we took out the bank note.
Correct.
And the bank note will be paid up this year, so that will free up an extra $300 towards next year.
That 300,000, the intention is in next year's budget to apply it to paving and drainage as well.
Yeah, so, you know, we understand we have an issue with funding the blacktop program, but I really see where we're on our way to, you know, resolving this issue. We certainly don't take a transfer like this lightly.
So what would be a healthy highway fund balance?
Probably something in the neighborhood of $1 million or slightly above that.
Would that be a fund balance or money set aside for paving projects? I think we're looking at about $1 million.
Well, they both
a year.
happen to be roughly the same
Yeah, about
number.
the same, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So little by little, we'll build back up to that.
Yeah, 25% is sort of a target number.
25.
I mean, it's not precise, but
Right,
it's in the
right.
name of, neighborhood of the entire appropriations for the fund. So that's about $1 million.
And the contractor that's been doing the paving for us since we've subbed it out has been doing a terrific job, and I think he's worth every penny.
I think the engineer and the highway superintendent are both very happy with the work they're doing, and we have good pricing on it that's been extended, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions? Do I have a motion to authorize the budget transfers?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next on the item on the agenda is public comments on general town issues. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak on anything, or anybody on the board like to make any mention of any general town issues? No? Okay, there being none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting is adjourned. The next, the August meetings will be, the workshop and the voting meeting will be combined. They will be held on August 23rd. Thank you very much.